sure it'll be better next time.
To end up with Rory.
The movie begins with Tim Lake. Tim is a very tall, skinny guy with orange hair. His mother is usually not very emotional, while his father, James, was a university professor and now enjoys reading and playing table tennis. Tim's uncle, Desmond, is a bit strange and possibly has Alzheimer's. His sister, Catherine, named Kit Kat, is very free-spirited. On New Year's Eve, Tim's parents throw a party he doesn't want to attend. Tim and his friend Jay accidentally knock over a table, spilling drinks everywhere, even on some guests. Kit Kat gets close to a guy named Jimmy Kincaid, and a pretty blonde girl shows interest in Tim. When everyone counts down to midnight, the girl tries to kiss Tim. Still, he awkwardly shakes her hand and wishes her a happy new year, leaving her disappointed while everyone else is kissing. Damn, Tim, you had this one in the bag. Tim's father tells him a big family secret the following day. The men in their family can travel through time, and he thinks Tim is a wimp for not kissing the blonde girl last night. Tim is shocked and doesn't believe it at first, but he asks how it's done. James explains that Tim needs to go to a dark place, close his eyes, clench his fists, and think of the exact moment he wants to go to. He can only travel to moments in his own life, so he can't, for example, go back and kill Hitler or hang out with George Bush. Tim decides to try it out and goes into his wardrobe. He follows his father's instructions and suddenly finds himself back at the New Year's Eve party, hearing Mr. Brightside by the Killers playing loudly. This time, he avoids bumping into the table, and when the countdown happens, he kisses the blonde girl. Attaboy, Tim, you made it right. If you wish you could travel back in time to make up for your lost opportunities, subscribe to the channel. Tim returns to the present, amazed, and tells his father. When asked what he plans to do with his power, Tim says he wants to use it to get a girlfriend. In the summer, Kit Kat's friend Charlotte comes to stay with the family, and Tim immediately likes her. While sunbathing, Charlotte asks Tim to rub sunscreen on her back. He accidentally squirts too much sunscreen on her. Embarrassed, he runs into the house and uses the time travel trick to go back and handle the situation more smoothly. This time, he calmly applies the sunscreen. On Charlotte's last night with the family, Tim decides to confess his feelings, but she tells him he should have made a move earlier. Heartbroken, Tim returns to a month earlier and tries again. Although Charlotte is more interested, she suggests waiting until her last night to decide. Eventually, Tim realizes he can't make Charlotte fall in love with him, no matter how many times he travels back in time, and she leaves, breaking his heart. After the summer, Tim moves to London to become a lawyer. He lives with Harry Chapman and starts working at a law firm. He becomes friends with a young man named Rory, who often hangs out with Tim as he continues looking for a girlfriend. One night, Tim's friend Jay takes him to a restaurant where they are set up with blind dates in a dark room. Tim talks to an American girl named Mary, while Jay is with her friend Joanna. Tim and Mary get along well, but Joanna is not interested in Jay. When they meet outside, Tim is charmed by Mary's looks, even though she doesn't see herself as attractive. Tim compliments her dress and hairstyle and gets her phone number before she leaves. Back at home, Harry is upset about a failed performance of his play. Tim decides to use his time-traveling ability to help Harry. Tim returns again and holds up cue cards for the actor, allowing him to deliver his lines perfectly. After the play, Tim tries to call Mary, but her number isn't saved on his phone. He rushes to the restaurant, but finds that Mary and Joanna have left without leaving any contact information. The next day, Tim sees an ad featuring Kate Moss, reminding him of his conversation with Mary. He goes to a museum exhibit of Kate Moss photos, hoping to find Mary. Days after searching with no luck, Kit Kat joins him, and finally, they see Mary. Tim approaches her, but she doesn't recognize him. He feels embarrassed, but Kit Kat encourages him to try again. He joins Mary and Joanna for lunch and learns Mary has a boyfriend, Rupert. Tim finds out where they met and uses this information to travel back in time. Tim goes to the party where Mary and Rupert met, finds her alone, and starts a conversation. They leave the party for dinner, and Tim ensures Mary never meets Rupert. Tim learns more about Mary on their date, and they share their first kiss. Mary invites Tim inside, and after a few tries using his time travel ability, they have a satisfying first night together. Tim and Mary start dating officially, and they spend many months together, often going through the train station as a musical group plays a romantic song in the background, highlighting their love. One day, Mary's parents visit from America. Mary surprises Tim with this news just as they arrive at their apartment. She warns him that her parents are very conservative, and not to mention their intimate life. When her parents arrive, Tim nervously blurts out that they don't have oral sex. Realizing his mistake, he goes into a nearby closet, travels in time, and avoids saying anything inappropriate. They then have a pleasant meal together, and Mary tells Tim she loves him. One evening, Tim and his friend Rory go to watch a play. There, Tim sees Charlotte with her friend Tina. After the play, he says hi to Charlotte, and she introduces Tina as her girlfriend. Tim mistakenly thinks that Charlotte rejected him because she is a lesbian. Still, she clarifies that girlfriend means a female friend. He goes back in time to fix this awkward situation. Still, he makes a mistake in assuming that Tina is Charlotte's lover. Finally, Tim goes back again and decides not to approach Charlotte at all. However, Charlotte spots him leaving with Rory and invites him to dinner while ditching Tina. They have dinner together, and as Charlotte starts to invite him in, Tim realizes he loves Mary and rushes back to his apartment. Tim finds Mary sleeping and wakes her up to propose. She's too tired to respond properly, so he travels back in time to hire a jazz band and proposes more romantically. Mary says yes and thanks him for not making a grand public proposal. Tim and Mary visit his family to share the news of their engagement. Kit Kat, who has been let go from another job, is thrilled and tackles Mary with kisses. During dinner, Tim announces that he and Mary are getting married soon because they are also expecting a baby. The family is overjoyed. That night, Tim and Mary plan their wedding, choosing the song Tu Mondo, deciding on the location, picking Tim's best man, and planning their honeymoon. The wedding day arrives, and despite the pouring rain, everything is fun. During the reception, Rory, the best man, gives an awkward speech. Tim travels back in time and chooses Harry as his best man instead, but Harry makes rude comments. Tim then picks Jay, who makes crude jokes. Finally, Tim chooses his dad, James, who gives a heartfelt speech after some time-traveling adjustments, saying he has only loved 3 men, Uncle Desmond, B.B. King, and Tim. Mary soon gives birth to their first child, a girl named Posey. They move into their own house, though it's financially tight, but they're happy. The family gathers on Posey's first birthday, but Kit Kat is missing. Jimmy Kincaid arrives and tells Tim that he fought with Kit Kat, who had been drinking. Tim and Mary rush to the hospital and find out that Kit Kat was in a car accident due to drunk driving. Tim travels back in time to bring Kit Kat to his house before she drives. Tim walks in with her on the beach, confronting her about her problems with Jimmy. Tim reveals his time-traveling secret and takes Kit Kat back to the New Year's Eve party where she first met Jimmy. She realizes Jimmy is a jerk and she punches him. Tim returns to the present, and Kit Kat, now with changed memories, is happily dating Jay. However, Tim discovers that changing the past has altered his daughter Posey into a boy. Tim travels back to the day of Posey's birth and talks to his father. James explains that time travel changes have altered the timeline. Tim realizes he must undo the changes to ensure Posey is born. Kit Kat still suffers from the car accident, but this time she breaks up with Jimmy and keeps her job. Before he leaves, Tim tells Kit Kat and Jay he always liked her and encourages her to talk to him. Tim returns to find Posey still there, and he happily plays with her. He tells Mary he wants another child, and despite her hesitation, they have another baby boy named Jeff. One evening, Tim and Mary plan to have dinner with Mary's publisher. Mary changes her dress multiple times, feeling unsatisfied with how she looks, though Tim assures her she looks lovely in anything. Eventually, she goes back to her first dress. She asks Tim where Posey is, and he realizes he left her with the publisher's manuscript, which Posey has colored over and shredded. Mary is furious, and as Tim tries to leave to fix it via time travel, Mary doesn't let him go. The phone rings and she answers angrily, but apologizes when she realizes it's Tim's mother. Tim's face turns worried as he speaks to his mom. Tim and Mary, along with Kit Kat, go to the family's home in Cornwall. Kit Kat runs inside tearfully, and Tim asks his mom how she is. She responds, "I am absolutely uninterested in a life without your father." Uncle Desmond tells Tim that James has lung cancer. Desmond adds that on Tim's wedding day, when James told him he loved him, it was the happiest day of his life. But now this news makes it the worst. Tim talks to his dad, who reveals that he has been time traveling to spend more time with his family and read more books. James also shares a secret plan to enjoy life. Tim narrates his father's plan. The first part is to live each day normally, facing all its stresses. The second part is to relive the day with a more positive attitude, embracing everything for what it is. Tim follows this plan, living one day normally and then reliving it with more joy, even making Rory's day better. The day of James's funeral arrives. While everyone is getting ready, Tim returns to a moment with his father, letting him know he is coming from the funeral. They sit together and James reads a passage from a Charles Dickens novel. After the funeral, Mary tells Tim she wants a third child, calling this the insurance baby, explaining that if one of their children turns out to be very smart and the other does not, there would be two happy dummies instead of one unhappy one. Tim agrees, but he realizes that having another child means he must let go of his father forever. During the 9 months of Mary's pregnancy, Tim uses time travel to visit his father every day. As Mary is about to give birth in the 9th month, Tim visits his father one last time. They play table tennis, and James asks what his reward should be. Tim says he will give him a kiss. Understanding what this means, James looks emotional. Tim gives his father a kiss, and they go to a dark place to time travel together to a day from Tim's childhood. They spend that day together at the beach. Tim and Mary's third child is born, a girl named Jo. Kit Kat and Jay also get married and have a child. By this time, Tim decides he can live his life without time travel because he loves it just the way it is. He kisses Mary while she lies in bed, then takes his children, now a bit older, off to school. The film ends with a brief montage showing the other characters, including Rory, Harry, Tim's mother, Kit Kat, and Joanna enjoying their lives one day at a time. And with this, the movie ends. If you've enjoyed the recap, like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.